So within 3 weeks, I had 4 VAs placed and 3 clients. I'm like, I guess I'm starting a VA agency.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coaching in cars, man.
A lot of limiting beliefs out there, thinking, how in the world am I going to accomplish something like that?
Not dissimilar to anybody.
The greatest risk we were afraid of that did not come to fruition is...
If I started a new business tomorrow, the first thing I would do is hire a coach.
All right, so welcome back to Coaching in Cars. Obviously, I'm Ren. We're back in the Z28 this week, which we've been in a couple different cars over the last couple of weeks, but everything's fixed with this. We had some technical difficulties on the last one, so we're back in the Z28 today, and I have my friend Phillip Sessions with me today.
Hey,
owner, founder of RefinedVA. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us, I know you're not from the area, so tell us what made you move here and tell me a little bit about RefinedVA and what you do.
So I am from Houston, Texas originally, so much like you, a transplant from out of state. Moved over here almost a decade ago. To November will be a decade here in 2025. And I moved here because of a job opportunity. I was without a job in oil and gas back in Houston, and it was 3 months, and I had interviewed for a company in Houston called Schneider Electric. They liked me, but went with somebody else with more experience, go figure. And there was an opportunity out here. They bounced my resume around internally, brought me out here, and I just fell in love with it. And then now I'm married to a girl from Great Court. That's where we live now, which is about 30 minutes south of Greenville. And yeah, we've got a family and everything, so family's really important to me. We had a great church family that I had here, so I didn't want to necessarily leave the area. I did leave for a year, came back because I wasn't done with the area yet, and then met her probably about 2 years after that and everything. And then about 7 months ago is where I actually started my virtual assistant agency, where we're focused on helping small business owners buy back their time by getting rid of tasks like social media and any admin type work that they have to do, follow-ups, CRM updates, you name it, those stupid, tedious tasks that actually built the business.
Yeah.
We help take those off of business owners' hands so they can actually do the things that they love to do, like you, for coaching, doing content, just creating it but not editing it and everything.
Well, and I think the cool thing was, like, I obviously went deep on you and I creeped you. But I think it was cool because realistically, like, you found in your life that you were running out of time and you found this opportunity. And then you said, hey, this really worked really well for me. So it's like this awesome testimonial. Like, most business owners, they need the service that they're providing people, and that's how they start the business. So it's cool that you have that testimonial story of like, hey, this is how this changed my life and changed my business. And then you created a business around that to go help other business owners do the same thing.
Yeah,
which I think is
well, it
super
wasn't
smart.
quite that smooth. So yeah, about 2 years ago, actually 2.5 years ago, I got my first virtual assistant because I wanted to make my content better, my podcast more specifically, but even my content better. So I hired a video editor. And then fast forward to 7 months ago, I had 2 friends reach out, 2 completely different friends, one here locally, one in Utah, reach out asking for help on finding a virtual assistant. And I'm like, hey, I've got 2 now, I've figured out how to do it, sure, I'll help you out. And then we started finding them, and they're like, well, how do you get paid? I'm like, oh, okay, well, no, like, don't worry about it. And they're like, no, we want to pay you. I'm like, oh, okay. And then one of them actually referred me to another person. So within 3 weeks, I had 4 VAs placed and 3 clients. I'm like, I guess I'm starting a VA agency.
Yeah.
And so I just started it up from there. So it just kind of started, I guess I was already kind of doing the work, but then just helping people, just trying to give back, really created the business and everything. So it's been a fun journey, really trying to learn and grow and create better systems and processes for our clients and everything. Because, you being a business coach, you know that systems and processes are king. And what I find that holds most people back from wanting to work with us is they don't have the time to train somebody up. They need somebody so bad, but they don't have time to train them. So now we're working on trying to really get down to, these are like the 2 or 3 things that we do, and here's all the SOPs. Like, they come with the playbook now. You're gonna have to manipulate it a little bit and massage it to fit your business, your industry, but they have the playbook on how to run a sales script, how to input into a CRM. We'll probably use Go High Level, maybe Job Trip, things of that nature. infrastructure and stuff, and get them trained up on that and continuous trainings and everything. So I'm working on building out a training development branch within the company. So it's a lot of moving pieces, but really excited for the growth to really be able to help business owners, especially here in the upstate of South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, huge need. Everybody, including ourselves, moved here, and I see the comments online all the time of like, stop moving here and all that, and I agree. Like, I don't want congested roads. I don't want to sit in traffic. I want all the things that you do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Greenville is a very desirable place. It's growing, and all of these people that are coming from out of state, for the most part, are bringing new businesses, opening businesses, creating awesome opportunities, and realistically starting to create like a small backbone to the economy of Greenville while it's growing, which I think is, a very untapped thought. A lot of people just don't like the congestion and traffic. Totally agree. I hate it too. I don't ever want to sit in traffic.
Oh yeah.
I have 2 little boys, and they're going crazy if we're in the car for 20 minutes or more. So like, I get it, but I do think like there's a lot of opportunity in Greenville from a business standpoint.
Yes.
And people like you are creating a new service at the end of the day that's not normal here, because a lot of VAs or VA agencies aren't in the US.
Yeah.
A lot of them are overseas themselves, and they're trying to hire out their people, which is, so it's a little unique that you're here.
Yeah, and so I do bring them from, well, I guess I don't bring them in from overseas, but they are in the Philippines. That's where you get all our people. And why we picked the Philippines, because they're so hardworking, which everybody talks about. They can't get labor, which, especially in the trades, you're talking about physical labor out there in the field. But even on the back end, I mean, I don't like doing the follow-up. I hate trying to update my CRM. I'm not on my computer 24/7. I don't want to have to be on Facebook trying to respond to everything, because here in our local community, the Facebook groups are amazing. I see business owners all the time getting tagged 20, 30, 40 times at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Well, that shouldn't be them doing that response. That should be somebody else that they've got on their team doing that. And so that's part of what we're trying to build up to help these business owners get that time back. Like you said, be with your kids. I want to help dadpreneurs get that time back to be present with their kids, because as a business owner, your baby ends up being your business and not your actual babies. Totally. You don't want to be an employee of your business, because you started a business to not be that. So, exactly.
And I think, TJ Norris, the owner of Barndo Co., he came on here, in one of my first episodes, and he used a term that I love. He said it collapses time, because a lot of people have the term of like, buy back time, or you get time back, and it's like, no, this collapses time, because the ripple effect that's created from taking these things off of your plate, that's one part of time. And that, I would agree, if that's the buying the time back piece. But what that allows you to do on the back end from an opportunity standpoint is to create more vision, create more ideas and all of this. And what that does is that collapses time frame, because you didn't have time before to focus on those things. Now you have that time, and somebody's doing the work that you were doing. So it's almost like a double whammy at the end of the day.
I agree. And kind of going on that same line, you get to be working on the business. You get to look at the strategy, because now you have somebody deploying and executing, and now you're able to say, wait, that doesn't exactly align with where we're going. But take social media content, for instance. I've just got to post. I've got to post. Well, now you're able to actually take a step back and say, okay, cool, we posted, but does that actually make sense? You could be posting about, I don't know, popcorn, but your audience doesn't need to know about popcorn and the fact that you love popcorn. Like, that has nothing to do with your business. So how can we talk more about your business and more about your life that's going to be relatable and everything? And as you start stepping out, because you've got somebody in that place, now you're actually able to be more strategic and realize, oh, let's talk about this. And that's happened for me personally. I've started to have people actually reach out to me directly because of a post I made, because like, oh my gosh, you were talking exactly about me. I knew you were. And I hadn't had that until I started getting VAs in place to help me actually create the content, where then I can go back and poke holes in it and say, no, we need to do this, we need to do that. And then really also starting to be able to focus on holistically, who am I actually talking to, instead of just posting stuff and being so generic, which is such a hard concept. I would love to hear like your thoughts on that from the business coach perspective, because we think like, oh, I can help anybody. And as a business coach, as a virtual assistant agency, everybody needs a coach, everybody needs a VA. But what are your thoughts on niching down? Because I think it's so important, but why do you think niching down is so important for businesses?
Yeah, I think, well, number one, you don't want to oversaturate the market with what you do and what you talk about. Because, I mean, a lot of the terms that I use and the things that I implement into businesses, they are universal from industry. So I don't really niche down in terms of industry. But I think why it's important to niche down, and what I would tell any business that I coach is, like, you got to have a market strategy.
Yeah.
Like, your market strategy is not help everybody. Your market strategy is go find these people because they're going to be ideal customers. They're going to be people who fit your brand, fit your values, love your purpose. And we used to say, you know, when I worked in construction, we had people that bought $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 projects from us that they wanted our t-shirt and our hat that our crew was wearing. And we don't sell apparel at all, but it's like they were so connected to us, our purpose, and what we gave back to the community. Those were our ideal customers because they would go, talk about us. They would give us referrals, all those opportunities. So I think it's important to find a market, create a market strategy, and find your ideal customer from a niching down standpoint. So you're going after the right people, because if you go after everybody, you're going to get nobody.
Exactly, and it's so generic as well. One thing I like to say is, like, if I talk about loving vanilla ice cream, people are like, okay, cool, like I like vanilla ice cream too, but I don't love it. But I would say, oh man, pistachio ice cream is the best ice cream out there. There's going to be people that love pistachio ice cream, like, oh my gosh, me too. And then of course there's going to be people like, dude, I can't stand pistachio. Like, how could you ever like that? And now they're going to remember me at least. They may not actually like me or love me because of that, but they're going to remember me. And that's the big thing with being actually identifiable and identifying. You don't have to niche down to, I'm only going to work with people that are left-handed and play golf.
It's
and
not a game of guess who.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of times people think I've got to niche down all the way to that granular detail, and it's not that. It's just, who are you talking to, and what are some of those things that they like and everything, and what's that services you can really provide? Because you can provide more than one service overall, but if you're talking about this service and that service and this product and that product, it's like, okay, I don't even know what to do anymore because you've told me 20 things that you actually do. So.
Well, here's the thing too, I worked for Apple for 6 years before I went on a coaching journey. And one thing that really stuck with me about my time at Apple was Apple said no to so many ideas every single year. I mean, we're talking, they probably say no to hundreds of thousands of ideas every single year. Good ideas, but they say no to them so they have the time, the capacity, the energy, and the effort to say hell yes to the ones that are actually going to move the needle for them. So one thing that I really learned from them, and what I talk to all of my businesses about, is I say, like, look, it's great to say yes to things and it feels really good, but you also equally have to say no to the things that don't fit your purpose, don't fit your market, don't fit your strategy. Because if you're not saying no to these things, we're spending time on those, and we're not spending time on the things that we should be. When we were in the construction industry, we're a $20 million a year business. We closed down $3 or $4 million worth of profitable sectors of our business because we couldn't scale them. We couldn't hire more people. They were specialized. We had to get licenses. We had to get all these things. That's not scalable. No. So we literally closed down $3 to $4 million worth of straight bottom line profit to focus on the things that we were good at and we could scale. And that made our business really like rocket ship to the top. So it's like, you got to say no to just as many things or more things that you say yes to, so you can say hell yes to the right things at the right times.
Exactly. And the more simple your business is, the more profitable you can be. And the easier it is to track it too. Too many people want to make everything so complex, and now you have no clue where your financial state is at. You don't even really know how much you made. You're like, I think this guy goes out there for this amount of money and we made this much on the project. So cool, I made this per hour minus his hourly rate, so here's my spread, when there's like, no, there's all these other little nuances in there.
So complicated.
And and as the company grows, it just gets more and more complicated. And then if you add more products, more services, it just exponentially gets harder. So stick in that one lane, and then until you get to a point, maybe then you can look at other verticals. But too often, too many companies want to do that, where they just, we're going to branch out and do everything.
Well, and it happens early on in the journey, because you start at this early struggle of, I don't know where I'm going to find customers. Nobody knows me. I don't have any marketing. I don't have any dollars to spend. I don't have anything to create, customers. And then what happens to transition to like this, we call it, or the book Predictable Success calls it fun mode. But ultimately, like, you start saying yes to everything to generate revenue and cash flow inside of the business. Well, that is okay to get the business off the ground and create cash flow. But what the downside of that is, you say yes to everything, and then all of a sudden you're a siding company and you're hanging doors and you're hanging windows, and then you're doing plumbing, and then you're doing, you know, pest control, and then all of a sudden it's like nobody knows what you actually do.
Yeah.
Because you said yes to everything. And it's just an early on in a business mistake, because it's that scarcity mindset of, I got to go find people, I got to create revenue, I got to create cash flow. I'm all about creating cash flow, but not at the expense of not being able to scale the business and grow it, because I said yes to too many things.
Yeah.
You know, I do think it's really interesting how we met. I posted a short on Facebook talking about why it's so important to have, you know, take you as the owner out of the business, so you can create some vision and strategy, but it's equally as important to have people underneath you that can execute on those things and execute better than you would actually execute on them yourself. So I posted that short, and you made a comment and you said there's gonna be a whole podcast about this. And I'm like, let's do it.
Yep.
So we exchanged a couple direct messages. I'm old enough to say that and not say DMs. We exchanged a couple messages back and forth, and now here we are. So I do want to talk a little bit about that. It blends into what you're doing as well with a virtual assistant, but why do you believe it's so important for the owner of a business, you're an owner, to focus on the vision and the strategy piece of it, and less on the execution piece, to have people that focus on that for you?
Well, I think the first thing, when we get into business ownership, we want to make more money and we have more time freedom. You can't work in the business and make more money and have more time freedom. Yes, of course, when you're the solopreneur, you're bringing in all the profit from every job, but the only way to get more jobs, to make more money and get that time back, is to put people underneath you. So that's the very first thing. The second thing is, basically, you've just created yourself as a slave to your business. So you have to put people underneath you. And what I love about it, when you start getting people underneath you, like we talked about the strategy already, is you learn how to be a leader, and you truly learn about your business. Because yes, you can, or business in general, because you know how to do the production side of it, you know how to do the fulfillment, but you don't understand operations, you don't understand marketing, you don't understand sales, because you're just kind of hustling and making it happen. So really building that team under you allows that. And what I truly love is that you're then starting to provide for other people, not only for your customers with your product or your service, but now you have a team that you are helping provide them a livelihood. And that's what I love so much about it.
Yeah.
I think those are some of the important things about getting people underneath you.
Yeah, and we talk about, usually, I don't know if you've watched all the podcasts, but we talk about the 3 core functions of business: the get work, do work, and get paid pieces of a business. They have to be strong. So from the get work piece, that's usually marketing, sales. Do work is usually some sort of production or product development, whatever that looks like. And then the get paid piece is some leg of a finance function, payroll, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Those have to be strong, and you as an owner cannot be 100% strong in all of those areas. No. And most owners, when they start a business, they're really strong in one of those areas, and that's what makes them so good. They're usually strong in marketing and sales, right? Or the ones that are strong in production go out and hire a salesperson because they know that they're not a good face of the company, so to speak, or they're not good at the sales piece of it. So it's like having those 3 really, really strong functions inside of your business, and people that can run those functions without you having to run it is vital to scaling a business and vital to success. So from a virtual assistant standpoint, when it comes to the get work, you guys can do marketing and sales.
Yeah.
You can find people that can help with that piece of it, drip campaigns, CRMs, all of that.
Yeah.
The production piece of it, and then the get paid piece. So what sectors do you guys usually fall into from a VA standpoint?
So typically, the marketing and sales perspective, but then also on your back-end operations. So whether you want to kind of put that under the HR human resources side, or you want to put it under the operations with your administrative side of things, that's typically where we'll fall in. So those tend to be the easiest. I mean, we've helped place people that did actual tax work for CPAs and everything, but that's not my wheelhouse. I also think from a risk perspective, that's not very smart on me to do, even though we basically gave them over to the client and the client managed the person and everything. But that tends to be the easiest spots to go. And really, whether you go with the virtual assistant or not, you can outsource things like that. You can outsource HR. You can outsource marketing. You could outsource sales. I would say sales you probably want to keep in-house.
Yeah.
But no matter what you outsource, you still need to be making the decisions on that. Yes, you're going to have these people executing, but you have to make the decision. You have to say what's right and wrong. You go hire a marketing company. There's plenty here in the upstate as well that are great. They're going to run your ads. They're going to run your SEO. They're going to build your website. But they have to tell you what's good, what's bad. Or sorry, you have to tell them what's good and what's bad. Because they're going to say, hey, we got a $3 click-through rate. Or, whatever. I clearly don't know the
we're spending $5,000 on SEO through Google Ads.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, cool. So what's that $5,000 get me? Oh, it's getting you this. Was that good? Is that not? How much does it cost per client? Well, okay, you're telling me it's $20 to gain a client. I don't want it at 20. I want it at 15. Okay, well, how do we get there? Okay, then they go back and make some tweaks. But you have to tell them that's good, that's bad, and let them do that. And that's the big thing that most people, especially with virtual assistants, I think it's a set it and forget it. No, you have them executing, but you tell them the plan. You tell them what's good and bad. You give them the processes. They just do the execution. They don't think.
And a lot of people, a lot of business owners would say, how do I know what's good and bad? And I always answer with one blanket answer, and that is the data that you have inside of your business. If you aren't tracking a P&L, or you're not tracking like KPIs, measurables, things like that, and you don't have a pulse on the market at all, that's problem number one. So even before you can go to a marketing agency or a VA or anybody and tell them, hey, this is good, this is bad, and here's what I want, you have to know what the data is and what it looks like, and you got to know your financials well enough, and you have to start to make proactive decisions. So when it comes to like marketing spend, tracking your cost per lead and looking at that on a weekly basis, so you don't have to wait a month or to the end of the quarter to find it and then make the tweaks, because it's already too late. The money's already spent. Some of these businesses that I coach are spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in a quarter on marketing, and that's great, but we don't know what it was spent on, and we don't know the result until the end of the quarter. That doesn't make any sense. We need to know the result weekly, so we can start to make tweaks, because it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to see the results of those tweaks.
Exactly.
On the back end. So
And there are times where you need to leave some time too. You can't literally every week change it up.
Totally.
But yeah, for sure, you don't want to wait a whole quarter, because you've just spent all this money. And then actually, speaking about spending money, one of the things that a lot of people think is that, oh, well, if I don't see a result in 30 days, I wasted my money. Well, especially when it comes to, really any service, you need to give it 3 months. And whatever that cost is for that 3 months, you need to be willing to lose that money at the end of the day, because it's going to take 3 months for anything. But I know we've been talking about virtual assistants, but even hiring somebody in-house, if you're not willing to spend 3 months of salary when you hire that person for them to make mistakes, mess up, not understand how to do the work, you are not ready to hire a person.
It is expensive.
And too many people think that, boom, they just pick it up and go. You didn't, as the business owner. When you worked for somebody, if you did work for somebody, you didn't just know something day one. It took you a while as well.
Totally.
But too many people, especially business owners, want something now. And I get it. I get it completely, because you're so overwhelmed, you're bogged down, you don't have the time to focus on getting somebody up to speed, and outsourcing to a marketing company or a business coach. Oh, you're just going to figure it out for me. You're just going to tell me what to do, and then magically, I paid you, and magically my business gets better. No, it doesn't work that way. You still got to do the work.
You still got to do the work. I'm not solving every problem in the world for you. Most of the time I'm uncovering the problem. And then I'm saying, this is a huge gaping hole, and I'm seeing a couple corners around for you, and I'm saying, hey, when we get to 20 million, this is going to be a giant chasm inside of your business. Let's fix it now. But I'm not the fix. I'm not a fractional, integrator. I'm not a fractional, whatever you want to call it, fractional COO. I'm the guy that comes in and I say, like, where are we at? Where do you want to be? Let's create a vision, strategy, and plan to get there. Let's be really strong at the people inside of your business. Let's be really, really strong at purpose. Let's be strong at playbook or process. And let's be really strong at performance. If we're good at those things, the profit will drive itself. But we have to make sure we're super strong at those 4 things, and we have to talk about the issues and opportunities inside of our business to be able to say, okay, well, if that's a problem now, it's going to really be a problem when we scale it. So let's solve it now. Let's put things in place now. So if training is an issue and it's taken us 4 months to get somebody up to speed, how do we get that down to a month?
Yeah.
Do we need to document some processes? Do we need to create some training videos? Do we need to hire an LMS? Like, what do we need to do now to scale it and get it to where we can reduce the amount of time that we have to spend hiring somebody?
Exactly.
You know?
And what you're saying here is that we all tend, especially when we're first starting out, we focus on the result. The result was the result. We want the profit. But what are the actions that get us to that profit?
Yep.
That's what we have to focus on. We cannot control the result. But we can control the actions that lead to that result, which then means we then can control the result, but we can't change the result of what the profit is, of what the person's going to do. But we can make sure that we have processes in place that make them, if they follow that, then this is the result they should get.
Yep. So I always tell people in my space that are, say, when do I need a coach? Or do I need a coach? And all of those questions that come up, I always say, look, if you're asking me the question, that probably means that we need to have some form of a conversation. But also, if you've ever felt like, oh man, like the financials say one thing, but in my gut something feels off, or I feel like we're stuck at a ceiling, like let's just have a conversation, because it doesn't hurt anything to talk about your business. And a lot of times it's the feeling that you're having, the gut feeling that you're having is right, and you do need to seek somebody from an outside opinion to come in and help you. So the reason I say all of those words is to ask, when somebody comes to you and says, do I need a VA? What is your response, and when should somebody look into hiring a VA inside of their business?
Well, obviously you need to be profitable, are willing to make that investment. Right. Because I know some people, like I've got a buddy that started a pressure washing business, didn't have a single client, and he spent 30 grand. So yeah, it depends on where you're at, but I'm assuming most people are not at that point just to throw a bunch of money, hire a bunch of people, all that stuff. So obviously you need to be profitable and really at a point where you're bringing in so much work, or there's so much activity going on, that you need somebody to help take some things off your plate, and really starting to miss things as well. Missing opportunities would be another great way, especially for those that are in that solopreneur up to like maybe about 3 employees. Now if you got 20, 30, that's a little bit different. You could still get one, obviously, to really do the grinding of following up with dead leads or whatever that may look like, and help out with some of those other things. But that's where I would say to start out with first, really identifying what are the things that you're doing in your daily business life, your daily life, and then what things do you like to do, what things do you not like to do, what things are you missing, and what things make you money. So you want to delegate ideally the things that you don't like to do, that you're missing, and don't make money first. And so when it comes to the virtual assistant, I like to make sure that their primary thing is one thing, and not that they're, like you, a jack of all trades. Right. Because then they're not going to be successful. But they can take on other tasks. So say you have them doing the social media, they can also be a little bit of an executive assistant and help with your calendar and help with your email management and maybe updating your CRM, stuff like that. But their primary task should be this one thing. That way they can be successful in that, and then they're just helping pick up a couple of other things along the way. Because that's one of the questions I get a lot of times. Well, I don't feel like I have 20 or 40 hours a week to give to somebody else. You probably do. You're just afraid to let go of it.
Yeah, the control.
But you can also not just focus on one little thing. But then I have the other way where it's like everybody's like, I'm just going to give them everything, and it's like they're doing so many things they can't be successful either. So that's where I see where you just are getting overwhelmed, and you're actually at a profitable perspective that you can afford, $1, $2, $3 grand a month for a virtual assistant to come in and take over some tasks.
Yeah, and I would even say, like, just to take a step further, sometimes you can't afford not to do it. You know, because the opportunities that you're missing on the back end are, you can't quantify them in terms of dollars because they haven't happened. But if you quantified them in terms of dollars, it would be scary. And you would look at like a $2,000 to $3,000 investment a month, and you'd be like, that is, I'll trade $2,000 to $3,000 for $30,000 worth of opportunity on the back end. literally every single month of my life. You know,
exactly. So yeah, if you're really that overwhelmed, missing appointments, missing all these follow-ups, you can't answer half your calls, which, I mean, especially in the trade space, home service space, that's where all the money's lost, because you didn't answer the phone.
Dude, showing up, we always used to say that in construction. It's like, if you just show up on time and you do a good job, you interact with the customer, and you leave a proposal, and at the end you just say, what do you think? You're going to get like 30 to 40% of customers to just say yes to you right then and there. And the bar is so low. Like, the status quo of the trades is so low. And I'll be honest, like, and this is not a dog at all on Greenville. I love it here, but I will tell you, the bar here versus where it was in Omaha is even lower than it was in Omaha. And it's like, man, I've called pool companies to come give me a pool bid. 3 or 4 companies, only one showed, and I still haven't gotten a bid for a pool. And it's like, man, how disappointing. Like, there's literally people that are ready to give you money that you don't have the time to get to. Well, maybe you need to hire somebody like a VA or a salesperson to come out and do that job, so you can go focus on doing bids or production, or hire a VA to send out the bids and do a drip campaign for you. Like, do something, because right now what you're doing right now is you're just dead man walking. You're never going to grow, you're never going to scale, and actually you're going to piss off more people that are going to go bash you on Facebook or give you a negative review. And in this day and age, 1 or 2 negative reviews can really change the trajectory of your company if they're really nasty reviews, right? So you got to be really diligent about your interaction, what your face looks like in the community, all of those kinds of things, because the bar really is super low here.
And the good thing with that is, if you're doing any little bit, like you said, the response, you can start to make so much money. And now that virtual assistant pays for itself 3, 4, 20 times over. I mean, to go with the story with that, we had some concrete work done. Henderson Brothers, great group that does concrete work here locally. I referred them to somebody else that I know, and they said that, of course, they want to get a couple other bids, so they reached out to a couple other concrete companies, and nobody responded except for them.
It's unbelievable.
And I had a landscaping company come out for us. We're like, hey, we want to get some landscaping done. Funny thing is, we were willing to pay the money, and now we're like, maybe not. So we decided not even to spend the money, but they came out or to do the estimate, never even sent us anything. And I think I followed up one time, even myself, and then never heard a word. I'm like, how do you drive all the way out to my house, which is out in the boondocks, to give me to get everything together to give me an estimate, and never even give me anything?
Well, that's because there was a salesperson that came out there. It doesn't affect, they're not putting the overhead cost into it.
Well, that was actually the business owner himself.
Well, then that's really dumb.
Exactly. So, it was like, really? He's just leaving it out there. And so, again, that's where the virtual assistant come in. Like today, somebody, I'm scheduling lunch with them, and so rather than me do it, like I was doing the talking back and forth and the direct messages, but I sent a screenshot, said, hey, told my executive assistant, hey, put this in my calendar, here's their email, and I said also put it in the CRM. So we got their information in there. If something comes of it, it's already there. We can make some notes what happened in that lunch together and everything, and go from there. But now my CRM has their contact information. I have my calendar set up. We sent it to them, and all I did was took 2 screenshots and texted.
It's efficient, and nothing can slip through the cracks.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I always leave a little section of time to, how can we find you? I know you got a website, I know you got Facebook, all of that, but like, how can we find you, and how can somebody engage with you? And is there like a way, if they have questions about VA, like what would be a good resource for them to answer those questions?
So I've got my YouTube channel, just at Phillip Sessions with 1 L. There we are posting very specific virtual assistant content. I'm always open to answering questions in my direct messages. So Facebook's where I live most of the time. The real Phillip Sessions, there you'll find me. I mean, basically Google Phillip Sessions, you're going to find me. Because I'm all over the place and everything. And then our website is RefinedVA.com. So those are the places that you can find us and ask any questions you want. If you can't find the content, we'd love to be able to answer those. So please ask us. That helps us be able to create better content, which secret there is that's how you can create better content for yourself, is based on the questions that people are asking you about your business.
So shameless plug, I'll tell you right now, of all the businesses that I coach, There's two things that if you're not on the cutting edge right now as a business owner and you're watching this, there's two things that you need to start having conversations about. One of them is AI. Using AI as ideation inside of your business cuts down the amount of time that people have to spend trying to think of an idea, and then they can go refine that idea and you can actually be way more productive. Like the amount of times that I type something in and say, hey, can you make this for me? It gives me a good idea and then I take it and run with it. So AI is number one. Number two is virtual assistants.
Yes.
Every business that I have is operating with some form or fashion of a virtual assistant, executive assistant, whatever that looks like. Now, at the end of the day, you can hire somebody, you can hire an agency to do it and hire somebody overseas. You can hire an executive assistant here in the States. You can do it yourself, but it's so much easier to hire an agency to just do those things for you. And it cuts down the amount, like we said before, it collapses time for you because you don't need to spend time finding these things. You pay somebody to spend time finding these things for you.
Exactly.
Right?
The thing when you're ready to bring that in-house, you hire somebody who works with them and learn from them. And then now your team now knows it instead of, oh crap, okay, I want to bring this in-house, but now I need to learn it so that I can then hire somebody and teach them. No, let them go learn it on their own. And we're actually we're creating a video right now. We're getting the script together and we'll be talking about how virtual assistants can use AI. And I guess another shameless plug, if you're here local, June 17th, we're doing an event. I'm doing it with another guy where we're going to talk about AI and virtual assistants.
There you go.
And how to use them together.
I really teed that one up. That was not a conversation off camera, by the way. That was total happenstance. So that was great. All right, Phillip Sessions, love it. It was great. RefinedVA, go check him out. Go have a conversation. Obviously, he's active on Facebook. Just have a conversation about VAs. If you have questions, obviously, he's a great resource for you. And if you're on the fence about doing it or you're on the fence about coaching, there's two guys in this car that would love to have conversations with you to be able to give you good advice or sway you the opposite direction if that's the right move for you. So.
Yep, and that's the same. If you talk with me, I may tell you, no, you need to go hire this other person or you need to do this other thing. A VA is not the thing for you, and I'm not afraid to say that.
Yeah, good. Awesome, man. I appreciate this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ren.
Maybe we'll have to do a pod swap.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
Come on yours and we'll have a conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Cool.